So my presentation is actually going to focus on the importance of smallholder farmers and including them in this business investment package for agriculture. So examining the current concessions to stimulate investments in agriculture and agribusinesses, it has become apparent to myself and to others that smallholder farmers do not have the opportunity to take advantage of these incentives for their benefit. In fact, today, I spoke to a number of persons in the corridors who said to me that we also have backyard gardens and so on, and found this symposium to be very important and wanted us to touch on the issues that they face, so the small farmers. The existing packages are mainly accessible to those who can make very significant investments in agriculture and benefit those that are mainly engaged in commercial farming on a larger scale. So for example, we have the Grenada Investment Development Corporation providing capital investment allowances for qualifying investments that are in excess of 1 million EC dollars. And we have to think, how many small farmers have access to or need $1 million? This and other incentives are important. They are certainly beneficial for developing agriculture and agribusinesses in Grenada. We cannot deny this. However, in line with the theme of today's symposium, reimagining agriculture sustainability, small farmers who are engaged in livelihood and subsistence farming should also be seen as primary beneficiaries of incentives for agriculture investment. Indeed, we have to view small farmers as investors and themselves are also investors. They invest their time, their limited resources to derive a livelihood for their households, and they also have the potential to be at the center of very vibrant economic activity in their communities. However, as P.S. Bagwan mentioned today when talking about financial institutions this morning, when it comes to farming, we go to financial institutions, especially for small farmers. We see that they have very limited access to credit, and they face very stringent requirements that are difficult to meet to access these credits. And some of these requirements include having a security, guarantors, providing pay slips. We know that small farmers often do not have pay slips, especially those that engage in farming as a primary activity and not as a complement to a salaried or paying job. So an investment package should provide significant investment for smallholder farmers and should seek to eradicate poverty, enhance sustainable livelihoods for small farmers, and also other marginalized and vulnerable groups. I was actually reading an article by Dr. Barry that focused on gender and the importance of women farmers in not just Grenada, but the OECS, and the creating or removing the barriers, understanding and removing the barriers to they being able to benefit from the cottage industries, the farming and livelihood farming that they actually take part in. So how do we determine a starting point of creating a business investment package that would achieve these objectives? And by objectives, I mean enhancing the livelihoods of these small farmers in a sustainable manner and contributing to economic development in Grenada. To do that, we have to understand the realities of small farmers in the Grenadian context. And I want to stress here the importance of engaging with the farmers to understand their situation. We have to be very careful that small farmers are not excluded from discussions like these types of discussions. I was actually speaking to a poultry farmer in Grenada, and one of the concerns that she expressed is that farmers in Grenada feel like they are not being heard. So we need to be very careful of that. We have to be sure that they are engaged, And of course, this was also repeated today by some of the persons that I spoke to. A lot of the challenges that smallholder farmers face in general have already been identified. We know that farmers produce a majority of the world's food, small farmers, but they are also among the poorest and most food insecure groups. They are also the most vulnerable to economic and environmental shocks, which was already mentioned again, which worsen their situation. And in small island developing states like Grenada, we are even more exposed to these shocks because of our dependence on the international economy and on international markets. And also by the fact that we are prone to experiencing extreme weather events from climate change, including longer and hotter dry seasons, which I heard we've experienced last year, very hot dry seasons, shorter rainy seasons, more intense storms and hurricanes and sea level rise, etc. Some other impediments that are affecting small farmers, and this is not an exhaustive list, are the high cost of agriculture inputs, including seeds, fertilizers, feed, etc., the high cost of labor, inadequate infrastructure, including access roads and irrigation infrastructure, the difficulty of finding markets for their crops. Smallholder farmers have to contend with the displacement of their crops in the domestic market from cheaper imported food. So we do think about markets, international markets, but we also have to see how small farmers can find markets here in Grenada. In speaking with small farmers in the Pacific and Caribbean, there are some solutions that they came up with. Smallholder farmers want easier access to credits or grants to pay for these inputs, such as land, seeds, labor, fertilizers, and machinery. They need more training and access to information on best practices in sustainable farming methods. They need incentives, training, financial support for small-scale value-added production, especially for livelihood, rather than purely commercial farming. And they also need access to infrastructures, irrigation infrastructures, and so on. So this is not an exhaustive list, but I also want to add that these incentives, whatever incentives that we do come up with, should be supported by an adequate policy and legislative framework to promote and protect the entitlements of small farmers. And this includes owning and accessing productive resources like land, seeds, water, ensuring that those engaged or employed in small farming have adequate income, ensuring that there is a market for their crops and that there are proper support mechanisms or social safety nets for these farmers. And I will just conclude by reiterating that smallholder farmers should be among the primary beneficiaries of a business investment package for agriculture. Small farmers are investors, investing their time and energy to produce food that is healthy and more nutritious than imported food. They also have the potential to be at the center of vibrant economic activity in their communities. And so this investment package should address obstacles that keep our farmers impoverished and from making significant contributions to sustainable economic development in Grenada. Thank you.